grow our startups, on how we can grow our startups with Amazon credits. So just quick rules. Please ensure that your mic is muted. And then if you have a question, please just raise your hand or drop your question on the chat and it shall be answered so that you don't forget. Also, before we start, I'd like us to just, introduce ourselves on the chat and just name your startup and we can, so we can know each other. And then Mr. Siviwe Mashiya, who is an AWS startup sales at Silicon Drive, please take the floor.
All right. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. As stated, my name is Siviwe Mashiya. I'm the startups director over at Silicon Overdrive. And Silicon Overdrive is a managed services IT company. However, we are partnered with AWS, and so we are then authorized to basically sell you their services, offer you their funding programs. And because of our partner status, we have access to over 80 different funding programs. Luckily for your ears and your attention spans, we're not going through all 80 today. But just so you know, the funding never stops over at AWS. And because now you've met Silicon Overdrive, which is a premier level partner, which is the highest tier you can obtain outside of the US, where AWS is from, only US companies can go one level higher, and that's the highest you can get in the entirety of AWS. So we're at the highest level you can be outside of a US company. So you're in the right hands. And my job basically is to specifically focus on startups and growing them, holding their hand from basically the pre-seed stage or MVP, launch ready, production ready, customer ready stage, all the way through to scaling SMB, enterprise, and hopefully unicorn status, if they're so lucky. So in a nutshell, that's me. I will then do a deeper introduction on our company and what we do and how we can help you, obviously, with the presentation later. But that was just a brief introduction as to who I am and what my company does, just to position myself and my company so you understand why you should be here today and what potential value you could gain from this meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Siviwe. I'm looking at the chat box. It's quite quiet. I was hoping that young startups will just introduce themselves briefly and their tech businesses. But I'm just hoping that as we continue with the conversation, everyone is going to introduce themselves. We on the call. We also have Siviwe. Siviwe, can you just briefly introduce yourself to the startups, and then we'll hand over to Pile. Sorry, we have Pile, Ngosing Pile Shongwe on the chat. Can you kindly just introduce yourself, and then we'll hand over to Siviwe to start with the presentation.
Yeah, definitely. Hi, everyone. My name is Pile, and I work for an IT company, and I also consult for Pinaco Co, which is also a startup, and we've used AWS credits to grow our business, to grow the business. So looking forward to you guys hearing more about the program.
Thank you so much, Pile. As you heard from Pile, we are not just talking; we are walking and talking. What is the saying? But if you know what I'm trying to say, also as Pinaco Co, we have been through the process of securing credits from AWS. So, Siviwe, can you please continue and just present to us?
Great. I'm more than happy to. I just want to make sure everyone can see my screen, right? I can just say yes or give me a
Yes, we can.
Okay. Awesome, that works for me. Thank you ever so much. So I've already said my name. You can read it and my title down here. And I am representing Silicon Overdrive. So let's talk a little bit about who Silicon Overdrive is and why you should be in this call in the first place. So Silicon Overdrive is an IT managed services provider, and we're close to 30 years old now. And like I said, we're a premier partner, and we've been working with AWS for about a decade. So as an IT managed services provider, we're actually equipped to assist you build out and deploy any kind of technical solution, whether it's on AWS or on Google or Azure. It just so happens that AWS is such a big client for us that we've built a whole department around it. So to help put this into perspective for you, imagine if you're a law firm or a bank and you've got such a huge client like the government that they say to you, we'll pay you X amount, but we want our own project manager, our own business development rep, and our own technical person to take care of our tickets. So that's basically the situation we're in with AWS. They're such a large customer for us that we've built an entire department around it. And I'm just director of the sales team, of the startup sales team, but there's also an SMB focused team and a public sector focused team that maybe like the public sector team goes for universities and other public sector stakeholders, and the SMB is targeting certain large strategic clients. So just to give you a scope and scale of how big this is. And this is important for you to understand because what AWS has done as basically they've built an industry around themselves with using this partner enablement. And so they pay companies to go market and sell their services and service their customers on their behalf instead of having to take all the traffic themselves. And what this allows them to do is reach markets that they'd never usually have access to and also come up with solutions that they usually wouldn't have thought of because they're getting ideas from all different places. This is important for you to understand because this forms the basis of why and how they fund startups. It's based on the type of idea you have, the type of market you'd be bringing, etc. And obviously based on the usage that you'll incur, the literal bill that you'll be creating with AWS. These are the core principles around how and why you get funding. So if you're deploying one of these trending solutions like AI, ML, you guys know all the trending topics. If you're working in that space, that's already a big checkbox because AWS wants data and insights in those markets, and they want a footprint in those markets. And then if you're also working in a niche market or in an area like the third world, like in Africa, that the technological giants are trying to dominate, you're also in a good space. I'll let you know right off the bat that AWS is investing 100 billion with a B next year, dollars into South Africa, not Africa, South Africa, to build up specifically young Black entrepreneurs, all under the age of 40. So just like how the BEE program was released, I know all of you know about the BEE program. Basically, AWS is doing their version of that. So they'll be targeting Black-owned companies. There are some that have already received this funding. Some of you might know them, like Batsamai, like CloudZA. They are benefactors of the program I'm talking about. You should check out Batsamai. They're doing very well right now. They received funding from AWS. So this is very important for you to understand, for me to set the stage so you understand this is how AWS works. And if you navigate this the right way, you can build a multi-million or multi-billion-dollar business practically for free or with very, very minimal effort in terms of your spending. But obviously a lot of effort in terms of your thinking, informing yourself, educating yourself, showing up to meetings like this, and having the right conversations with the right people. Great. So with that being said, our team has well over 100 plus certifications because, like I said, we have an entire department, over 40 employees with different roles and responsibilities, all ready to assist you. All right. So we're more than competent. It's all about you and your idea and your level of seriousness and how well you've built up your startup to this point. Are you ready for us is the real question. Now, the programs we offer primarily to startups, we start you with a POC. Now, POCs are generally for startups who have big ideas, have some funding behind them, and want to launch this idea on AWS. So what do I mean by a big idea? I'm referring to the trending topics I touched on earlier. Like if you have an idea that is based in, not based in, but wants to incorporate or is based in AI, machine learning, database analytics, or any kind of relational or non-relational database work, but on a large scale, then there's a lot of POC funding that's available for those workloads. So let me make a practical example. Let's do it like this. Let's reserve questions for the end, just in case I happen to answer whatever you ask along the way. So with that being said, so a practical example of a good customer for a POC. Let's say I'll give you two scenarios. Let's say you're a customer or you're a founder with an idea with some traction in the market, and you want to incorporate AI, ML, or database analytics on a large scale to this. Maybe it could be because you have a deal that's on the table that you're about to sign and you know it's going to increase your clients, or you're just anticipating large growth, or it's just a solution that you want to incorporate. And with that, you believe you can confidently then approach investors, obtain funding, cover your usage while you gain your customers. So you're in that space. Then a POC is fantastic for you because then there'll be funding available for the ML, AI, or database portion of your workload that you're trying to incorporate. How that would look like is we will first estimate your approximate spend, so that your monthly usage, your monthly bill for using these services. So let's say we estimate that to be about $3,000 a month. We take that $3,000 a month, we multiply it by 12, and then AWS to get a year's amount of spending, and then AWS gives us 10% upfront of that estimated spend. So if we estimate $36,000 over a year, AWS gives us $3,600 upfront, either to fund our professional services so that they give it to us as cash, and then we're an IT managed services provider, we do this thing for you. Or you say, hey, please help me get the funding, but I have a technical team that can deploy the solution. I want to use the funding towards my usage, and I'll only need you guys for minimal technical services, which I feel I'll be able to afford. I can pay you this much. We then give you the estimate for our technical services, and then you can pay that. So it's all about the position of your startup at the time. What makes more sense for you? Paying for our services or paying for the usage, depending on where you are and what type of usage you'll be going into with the POC, right? Then the other kind of startup that we like, let's say you don't really have much funding or anything behind you quite yet, but you have an excellent MVP. You do have some investors on the table who are willing to put money down. If you can build this out and have a working solution, fantastic. Then you come to us. Let's say we estimate your spending to be $10,000 a month because it's a full AI ML solution plugged into database, plus an app, web-based application, plus a mobile app linked into that. It's a huge project that you're undertaking. That is fantastic for us because we say 10,000 times 12, $120,000. We get $12,000 up front to either fund our technical services or to fund your usage. Bearing in mind, your usage won't start at that high amount. When you start off and we incorporate these services, it's going to start low and then increase over time as you gain more customers, right? So if you use the money towards your usage, it can last a really long time because you won't be incurring much cost in the beginning, or you can use it towards our professional services. So those are the two kinds of customers that see a lot of success with our POCs. So if you're within that template or that that customer description or profile that I just gave, then you can see a lot of success around your POC. If not, worry not, there's more things available for you. That was just one program that I touched on. With that said, we have the Migrate program. The Migrate program, very self-explanatory. It's for customers who are coming from another cloud provider who want to move to AWS. We typically see success here for customers who are spending anything around $8,000 or more. The reason for that is because if you're using less than that, the funding that's going to come out might not cover your cutover spend. For those who are familiar with migration, they may know what cutover spend is. For those who are not, just to give you an idea, cutover is the fees you're paying as you're moving your old environment to the new one. You end up paying for two environments at the same time because you still have your old one and it still needs to keep running because some of your customers are there, but your new one also needs to be active because some of your customers are there too. And so you end up paying two bills at once. So if your spend is less than $8,000 a month, you'll struggle to get the funding required to actually mitigate that cutover, which can then make the migration tough. So what I like to say is, if you're spending less than $8,000 a month, or you project that you'll spend less than $8,000 a month on AWS, remember we assist you with projections and estimates. We do this for free. So if we project that you'll be less than that, then we like you to have your own funding or maybe making your own revenue so that you can pay for any shortfalls, whether it's on our professional services side or your usage side. So again, startups that see a lot of success with my great program are startups with some funding behind them or generating some revenue, but because they need to join a hyperscaler, or again, they've got a deal on the table that forces them to move to a more compliant cloud provider, then they see success with that migration program. However, don't fear, if you're spending less than $8,000 a month, we can still have a conversation. But then, like I said, you need to have some kind of appetite to pay for a shortfall on your side. So more than happy to assist you. And like I said, there will be some funding available. It just won't fully fund. And what we like to do at Silicon Overdrive is fully fund, because we've been doing this a long time. We know how it works. We like to do it fully. But if it's not possible, we can still have that conversation if you have appetite to pay for a shortfall. So we like to say, always have a budget for your migration. I mean, that's standard business. That's not even something that we tell you. That's something that they should have told you at business school, or something you learn at the University of Life as you do your business. You need to have some money for a rainy day or money for a project, right? With that being said, the next tab there is AWS funding. Like I said, there are over 80 funding programs. We're only really going to highlight 2 or 3 today, because those are startup specific. But the other 77 or so are all applicable to you once you start working with us and reach certain stages and certain spend in your journey. So don't fear and think, okay, so what happens if I do this POC or migration and I've got this big idea and I get funded in the beginning, and then let's say the customers don't pan out the way I did. My business is doing well, but I'm just not getting the money I thought I would. Are you saying I'll be stuck with this huge AI database analytics bill that I can't do anything with? No, I'm saying at that point, there will be more funding programs available that we'll leverage. The key here is to onboard you onto AWS the right way. And then as you navigate your journey, at the end of the day, guys, I can't do your business for you. If you're doing business correctly and your idea is as good as you think it is and you are getting customers, there's absolutely no reason why you will not get more funding, more support from AWS. It's only if you jump on with a migration or POC and suddenly you lose all your customers because you're caught in a corruption scandal, that's got nothing to do with us and we can't help you. Or if your idea is not as good as you thought and the market doesn't take to it, that's also none of our business. So always bear in mind, if your business is doing well, but you don't hit the metrics as and when you thought, that's a conversation we can have. But if it's, way below and just not working, that's on you, and that's just life, right? I think that's fair at the end of the day. So that's the verdict around the funding. And then as it pertains to DevOps, governance, security, compliance, ML ops, and how we improve, optimize, and modernize environments, all of these points fall under the WAFR. This stands for Well-Architected Framework Review, the WAFR, and we will discuss this a bit more in depth later in the presentation. So essentially what I'm saying to you is, after we onboard you onto AWS via a POC or a migration, we're then able to make use of any of these tabs on your environment so we can improve your governance, your security, or DevOps using the Well-Architected Framework Review program. And depending again on your types of workloads, there may be funding available for that, or you can just pay for it straight up. It's about 20,000 rands. For me personally, I say it's the best 20,000 rands you'll ever spend, because what the WAFR does, I'll explain a bit more in depth later, but essentially it allows you to not only optimize your environment, but allows you to become GDPR or PCI or HIPAA compliant so that you can globally scale. And it also counts as a technical due diligence certification that you can present to companies for when you are when you're pitching or looking for investment. So if they ask you where your technical documents, what's your disaster and recovery plan, all that jazz, you hand them the WAFR and it answers all your questions. And we stamp that with our name and AWS's name. So, there's no investor in the world who won't take AWS's certificate. So with that in your hands, you have a much higher chance of obtaining funding, of winning a tender, winning a deal, or winning investment. So that's what the WAFR does for you. Hence, I say it's the best 20,000 rands you'll ever spend once you get onto AWS. Right. With that in mind, we can move forward a bit and discuss AWS for startups and how the Activate program works for you. So the Activate program is where we like to start all our startups. So I know I said a lot in the previous slides. This is where I break down everything and walk you through step by step. All you need to do is hold on to the stage that's most relevant to you. But if you can remember everything, fantastic. I'll also see if I can arrange to have the slides sent out to you guys after the meeting. But yeah, let's walk through it together. So the first leg is the Activate program. The Activate program is for founders who are brand new to AWS, who want to try out AWS services because they have a good idea, they've tried it on another cloud provider or tried it in the market, and now that they have some traction, they want to deploy that solution to AWS so that it's secure, it's resilient, it's scalable, and it's in the cloud, so it can be available anywhere in the world. So how we do this for founders is we say, okay, if you want to build on AWS, we need 3 requirements from you. And then in exchange, we will give you $5,000 in AWS credits for you to build on AWS. So the requirements we need from you for the Activate program are the following. We need you to have your own working website. We need you to have your own business email, preferably the email and the website should be the same domain. And then we need your startup to be less than 10 years old. That's it. So if your startup is less than 10 years old, you have a working website and a business email, you send me an email, or rather, let me say, you create an AWS account and you send me an email with your AWS account ID. I will then respond to you with the steps on how to activate your $5,000 AWS credits voucher into your AWS account, and then you can put your MVP on AWS and bring your customers on board and begin consuming those $5,000 credits. The reason why I'm explaining it this way is because many startups in the previous years, we'd give them this $5,000 code, and because the code expires in 2 years, some of them would use the code and not have any customers or not have a ready solution, and then they don't incur any spend and the code expires. So now your credits have expired and you haven't managed to use any, or you only start getting customers 6 or 7, 8 months after redeeming the code. So our best advice to you is wait until you have customers, or your MVP should be customer ready, should be launch ready, and then you can activate the code and then consume the $5,000 properly. What you can consume this $5,000 credits on is the following: AWS services. Now, please don't be confused. It's not that you can only use them on these services. These are just all the images we could fit on the presentation. But the credits are actually valid for, there are 300 AWS services. The credits are valid for about 295 of those services. So it's only the latest and greatest and newest services that the credits won't be available for. But there is a link I can share with you that tells you the exact details. So if you want to know beforehand, I can also share that information with you. Also, you should know the credits don't cover marketplace, and AWS Marketplace is a space where people like yourselves, founders like yourselves, who have great ideas that they want to share with other AWS customers. So that's other partners like me or other people like you that are in these presentations, or anyone that uses AWS, you're able to sell your solution on the AWS Marketplace. So the credits don't work in that marketplace because remember, those people are not AWS people. I just explained, it could be you, like a founder. You don't work for AWS. You just want to sell your solution there. So you can't get paid in credits. You want to get paid in rands, dollars, or whatever your currency is, right? Exactly. So that's how the Activate credits work at a high level. So we give you $5,000 just if you have a website and email and less than 10 years old and you're a registered company, you get $5,000. You use that on AWS services to build out your solution, bring your customers on board and use the credits. And then while that's happening, you're able to upskill yourself and your team through the training and enablement that's offered by AWS. In an upcoming slide, it'll detail everything and I'll go through it carefully, but just at a high level, training and enablement means you're able to go online and actually obtain AWS certification via AWS courses for free. So you go online, you get free courses to study, which then prepare you to go write the exam. When you complete the courses, you're able to get exam vouchers, which you then use to go write the exam for free. So if you don't want to wait for the vouchers because they only come out every quarter and you need to be actually studying to qualify for them, they do check. You can just pay yourself for $90. $90 is nothing if you really want to certify and upskill yourself. The great thing though is, like I'm saying, if you really want to do it for free, it's absolutely possible. Simply study any course you want over 3 months or 4 months, making sure you start at the beginning of a quarter, and then you'll know at the end of that quarter, there'll be free vouchers available for you, and then you get yourself for free. If you don't want to have to do the admin of starting at a certain schedule and studying according to a schedule, then you can simply save up $90, do the free courses there, and then go pay to write your exam. Really, really nice. So for the founders who have CTOs and technical people, this is how you get them on board. You say, look, it's free certifications, free upskilling for you. You'll make more money on the side as a freelancer, doing whatever you want. Just keep doing what you need to do for me. For technical people who are in the room or technical founders who are interested, here's the great news. You can now become AWS certified for free, which will then cut down the costs when it's time for you to leverage technical partners. Because the more technical you are, the less you have to pay when it comes to obtaining technical services. And the more technical you are, the better your solution will be. This is just a snapshot of our global footprint again. So just to show you that you as a founder, if it so happens that you want to take your solution globally, we can help you do that. We as Silicon Overdrive actually have head offices in Cape Town, in Kenya, and in Ireland. So we can get you hooked up with the Europeans if you're trying to move to Europe. We can help you get into North Africa if that's an interest for you, or if you're just trying to scale within sub-Saharan Africa, we already have head offices in Cape Town and we can help you do that. So wherever you're trying to go, we can hold your hand and work with you. We also have strategic partners across the world. So if it so happens that you want to move into a region where we have no strong presence in, like in Asia, we have partners in Asia we can pass you on to who can then assist you with that. Okay. So in a nutshell, what the journey looks like is the Activate credits, which you get just for having a business less than 10 years old, having a website and a business email. So not a Gmail, a business email. You get access to $5,000 credits to get onto AWS and get your customers on board. If the Activate credits don't work for you, like I said, or you have a big idea that has higher spend than 5,000, we can look at a POC. Once you're on AWS, we can then do what's called an incremental workload. Remember, I did say to all of you that don't fear. Once you get onto AWS and maybe you think the funding runs out, no, it does not. Once you consume the Activate credits, we will then come in and see, is there an opportunity for incremental workloads? Can we integrate any new solutions or new updates to your workload that are new, that are not existing, that are not there already? And then we can obtain funding for that. So basically, it's like, imagine if you went to go get a new phone, but this time it gets paid for. So you pay for your first phone, or well, you don't because you get credits. But imagine if you paid for your first phone, but every time you went for an upgrade, you received funding because the upgrade you want is very advanced, has the best camera, and has the latest software. That's how the incremental program basically works. We take your current environment and whatever you want to add on top, depending on the usage and depending on the type of workload, like I said, AI, ML, database analytics, if it's one of those trending topics, then there's a lot of funding available for it. If it's not, we'll still take a look, but there'll be less funding available for it. And then you will need to pay something out of your pocket as well. Because remember, we are a business, so we do need to make money somewhere. Then the well-architected program, like I said, and I'll go into this one a bit in depth now.
What the company said they will pay for everything. They want to pay statements to the because she said to me that it's around.
Sorry. Okay. All right. Like I said, let's reserve questions for the end, just in case we get through it. And there's only 2 more slides left. All right. So basically, the well-architected program, what we do is we optimize your environment. So let's say you want to increase your security, your governance, compliance for whatever reason, we can assist you with doing that. And if in the process of that, we determine that we need to add new systems and workloads, then we can also leverage the incremental workload program within the well-architected. Also within the well-architected, if it turns out that the workload we want to add is really, really big and maybe even warrants its own brand new project, and you maybe even have some customers you want to trial it with, or like I'm saying, you've got a deal on the table, and on that deal requires you to do a proof of value concept, prove that you could really close this deal or that you're capable. Then we use the WAFR to determine that, because like I said, the WAFR is a deep dive into your environment. It's a technical due diligence. We use that to determine a POC is needed, and then we can do the POC. And that's why I say the WAFR is one of the best amounts of money you'll ever spend, because by spending this, you get all the insights into what funding you may qualify for, what you need to fix in your environment, and also get an opportunity to either fix that yourself if you have the technical competency, or have us fix that for you if you have the funds. So that's the great thing. And like I'm saying, there's always funding available. It's just based on your usage and type of workload. And then the migrate and modernize is basically all part of the MAP program. The MAP program is the migrations I was referring to earlier. So if you're coming from outside AWS, then we'd leverage these programs to bring you onto AWS. And once you arrive, your cycle will begin here at the WAFR. We'll then do a WAFR on that environment to make sure everything is done correctly. And then if you qualify for incremental workloads or POC, we then do that again. We have a lot of customers, people, who come to us every year for a WAFR and get funding like that. They're not even huge, organizations, not Standard Bank, not University of KZN, very just normal business people like yourselves, founders who've been on AWS, making money for their families. They're not a unicorn. They haven't broken the market. They're just making money for themselves. They come every year, they do a WAFR, and then they find out what they qualify for, and then we help them with that. They get funding, and then thank you, goodbye. We see you again next year. And that's our engagement with some of our customers that we've helped and grown and helped them reach the stage of profitability. So that also gives you a snapshot of, okay, Siviwe, after you give me Activate and whatever, what really happens? Like, give me a practical example of what it would look like. That's what it would look like. You'd come to us every year or every 6 months if you need be, depending on what kind of business you do. And then you can keep checking what you qualify for. Over time, you'll gain competency and know when to come to us for what. And now we have customers who know when to call us, like, oh, I've got a big deal on the way. I'm applying for a tender. Please, let's do a WAFR quickly. Can you book a meeting in the next 3 weeks? Boom, we do the WAFR. They hand in the documents, cool. So that's why this program is so important. It's like a backbone of many of our funding programs, because it allows us to assess your environment. So be very comfortable with this. So with that being said, the last 2 slides, like I said, essentially, we're going to talk about the training and enablement. I won't discuss it too much because it's very self-explanatory. Like I said, it's free virtual or in-person AWS foundational cloud training. So foundational cloud training is your cloud practitioner, all the certificates that say foundational. So none of the ones that say specialist, for example, those won't be free, but all the ones that say foundational will be free. And then for specialty certifications, you might need to wait, like I said, until the end of a quarter to get a voucher or a bonus. But practically speaking, if you're willing to wait, you can actually study yourself all the way to specialty level for free. You can then leverage AWS Skills Builder with over 600 free courses. And you can also use the sandbox environment. So for those of you who like to get hands-on, maybe you don't like to learn by reading or watching videos, then you can actually do the work yourself in the sandbox for free. And then we also do on the job knowledge transfer. So during that WAFR program, let me just step back 1 second. So like I mentioned, the WAFR is a very important program. During the WAFR, you or your engineers will sit with our engineers as we're doing all the work, as we're doing all the reviews. So they get a chance to ask all the questions and learn from our engineers directly. So that's what we mean by on-the-job knowledge transfer. When you work with Silicon Overdrive and you do any engagement with us, your engineers are able to sit in with us. In fact, they need to. That's why we prefer to work with startups that are making money already, because we know they usually have a CTO or a technical team, or a startup that's about to launch, that's production ready. We know they are also usually having a CTO, or at least interested in getting one in the short term, so we can at least begin some engagements. But we need you to have a technical person in-house, because we can't do everything for you. We need someone that we pass on the knowledge to. And also from a business perspective, now I'm doing a bit of business consulting. It's not smart to outsource your IT, especially if you're working in the cloud, because that's going to cost you a lot of money in the long run. It's better to hire someone in-house, or to have a partner who is within the IT space. By partner, I mean like a CTO partner, so partner founder, co-founder, or if you're fortunate enough to have a partner, as in your partner in life happens to be an IT person, oh wow, then great. But you need someone in-house. You cannot outsource IT and pay a CTO from China or India to do your IT. They have to be someone you know and work closely with so that we can transfer knowledge to them and they can maintain the environment. Great. So just to finish off, in summary, what do we do at Silicon Overdrive? I've now basically given you all the information. We provide you with AWS credits and funding. How do we do this? Typically with the Activate program. And then after the Activate program, we can leverage POCs or WAFers, which is the Well-Architected Framework Review. Or if you're coming from another cloud provider, we can leverage the MAP program, which is the Migration Acceleration Program, which we can use to get funding to move you onto AWS. We then provide technical advisory. So we literally sit with you. Hence, I was saying, for us to do the cost estimates and assess your environment is free. That's the technical advisory. We can sit with you for up to 2 hours with your engineers and with your solutions architecture to figure out exactly how much it would cost you to move or build or deploy on AWS, whatever it is you're trying to do. We do all of that for you. So you get all the costs in your hand as a PDF before you pay for anything or before you even think about paying for anything. A lot of times, if you're the right profile, it may happen that you pay for nothing because of the funding. But in the case where you need to pay for something, all of this will be made clear for you. And then we assist you with the pre-sales migration architecture. So if you're doing a migration, we do all of this for you, which is advisory, solutions architecture design, which is current and upcoming, which means your existing deployment and also your future deployment on AWS as to what it would look like. And we give you the estimates, all free of charge. The technical due diligence, the WAFR that I mentioned, how this can be free of charge. Maybe I should put an asterisk here. It can be free of charge depending on the workload and the volume. But if not, like I said, it's a flat fee of 20,000 rands, but it's the best 20,000 rands you'll ever pay for, because after the WAFR, we'll know what else you may qualify for. We know what you're missing on your environment, and then we can make moves either yourself or with our help to fix those errors, to become compliant, to become more secure, or whatever it is you're trying to do at the time. So the WAFR is very, 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 very powerful if you use it the right way. And that's why, as you can see, the technical due diligence, that's the WAFR I mentioned. This is exactly what it does at a high level, helps you with your operational excellence, security, reliability. And if we find that within your WAFR, there's an opportunity for you to use any of our partners. I know some of you recognize these symbols like Fortinet, Hugging Face, Databricks, Snowflake. If you're using any of these or might want to use any of these in your workload, then we're able to give you a discount on those services because these are our partners. So we give you a discount via the marketplace, the one that I mentioned earlier, where if you want to sell your services or solution there, you can. So we have partnership agreements with these people. So if you're using Fortinet right now and you're paying $120 on your own, you come to us and we can maybe get you a discount and you end up paying $90. It might not sound like much, but when you add in all the other services we can get you discounts on, it starts to accrue and have some value. Over a year, maybe you're saving $1,000, $2,000, who knows? So that's why the WAFR is so important. It allows us to identify all of those things at once. Right, so in summary, this is what the program looks like in stages. We verify your company and we add you to the startup territory. So after this call, I will organize and liaise with Upiwa, Upiwa, to send out the startup information request to everyone. This is what will allow me to check that you actually qualify for the $5,000. Because remember, you need to be less than 10 years old, you need to have a website, and you need to have a business email. So when you give me this form, I send it to my team and they confirm the details there. So they actually go to your website, they check the email, it's not bouncing and all of that. And they go check your company name, and we have our own internal services to see that it actually is less than 10 years old. So we confirm this, and once it's confirmed, then we send you out an email with the $5,000 voucher code. It's very easy. You go into your AWS account, there's a section where you redeem codes, you type in the code, and then it takes about 7 working days for you to get the code. Simple. If you have any issues, you email me. You'll have my email address at this point. You email me or you WhatsApp me and I sort it out. Then once you have your $5,000 code and you're using it, then it's for you as a business to decide what are you, where are you? Are you someone that's migrating? Do you have a large existing solution on another provider and you want to migrate? And you're hoping that this $5,000 can help offset your usage so that if we identify any funding available from your project, then we use that funding to pay for our professional services while this 5,000 pays for your usage services as you're migrating? Or are you just someone that is very technical, or you have a technical team, you're ready to go, you have customers already, you just need an opportunity to build on AWS. So now you build yourself on AWS with the $5,000, and now you just want us to come in and do a deep dive and make sure that your solution has been designed well. That's the well-architected framework review. Then we can do that for you. You build yourself with the 5K, we leave you alone, we don't bother you. You then tell us you are now ready for us to come do a review. We then review that architecture for you. And then we identify what other funding is available and what your journey or plan going forward could look like on AWS. Always bear in mind that this $5,000 expires after 2 years or 24 months from redemption. So you want to extend your credit runway on AWS by redeeming the smallest codes first, 5,000, because we have higher codes after this. And that's why I'm saying once we do the wafer, we'll see if you qualify for those higher codes. Great. And then lastly, no, I'm done. It's the last slide, I promise. And then lastly, steps 4, 5, 6, and 7. Like I said, the next step becomes seeing if there's any incremental workload. So after that wafer, we see, is there more solutions or more services we can incorporate to your existing deployment to make it more efficient, to reach more customers, to attract more investors? Okay, there is. Then there may be funding for those incremental workloads if they are AI, ML, database analytics, or any of these other currently trending topics. I can send you the information on all the ones that qualify for funding at the moment, so you can take a look and know beforehand, show your CTO and work on it if you need to. And we also check if there's any migrations, if there's any funding for migrations, if, like I explained, if at this point you were a startup who had a large solution on another platform that you were bringing over. And then we can do the technical due diligence again to see if we can scale these workloads any further and see if there's any more funding available after that. And now, once you start doing big business, we define that as you're spending $10,000 or more. Now we open up all the doors to the AWS discounts, marketplace discounts, further cost optimizations, further linking. What linking means is we link your AWS account to ours as Silicon Overdrive. And then we're able to give you a discount of anything between 4 to 13% over your entire account, just because you're a big spender and you're linked to us. That's a private offer we make with certain customers. So when you combine that with all the other discounts I mentioned, like the $120 down to $90, the partners we have, the funding available, this is why I started my presentation to you by saying, if you do this carefully, you can build a multi-million-dollar business without paying a cent. We actually have customers who've done this. I can connect you to their pages. You can ask them yourself and speak to them how they did it if they have time to answer you. But we have these customers, and we have we have many that have built without paying much less than what they thought they would, because they've leveraged all these discounts and programs. All of this is offered by us as managed services and technical support. But obviously, there's an optional charge services because we are a business, like I explained at the end. So wherever AWS funding does not fill, you will then have to pay from your own pocket. And that's why we like to work with startups that are either receiving funding, receiving revenue, or are just about to. Because at the end of the day, we're a business and we must mitigate risk. If something goes wrong or something messes up along the way, we need to be sure that you'll be able to pay at least our bill. And so that's why that's the last step. It's very, very important. But other than that, everyone, thank you so much for your time and attention. That was Siviwe Mashiya presenting the Silicon Overdrive AWS journey. And now I'm open to take any questions, but I think I should hand over to Upile to facilitate that. But thank you.
Thank you so much, Siviwe, for that powerful presentation. I love free things, and this, for me, if I was a business tech startup, are definitely be on your DMs right now. So thank you so much. Right now, it's time to take Q&As from our startup. I think we have one question on the chat. Sakile Mamba here is asking, I don't understand why anyone would want to use AWS through Silicon Drive. So I think you just, Sriya, can you please just explain the benefits of using Silicon Overdrive to access the AWS credits?
Great question and great point, Sakile. Actually, Sakile is right overall. If people were using AWS correctly, partners wouldn't exist. We exist simply because of human error and human nature, simply put. Because I just literally explained to everyone that you can start from zero knowledge of AWS, upskill yourself for free, all the way to specialty for free if you put in the time, and then use those skills to register a business with minimal cost at CIPC and build a website on Go or register a domain on GoDaddy, build a website with Wix with minimal cost, all of this less than $500, or I'm even ballparking it, even $200. You can do all of this and then qualify for the Activate program, get $5,000, and then build yourself on AWS. Yes, and then access all these programs on your own. Sakile is absolutely right. All of these, well, not most of these programs can be accessed without a partner. There are some that are partner specific, and that's where I could slightly push back. But honestly, that would just be me being a salesman. If I'm being honest and then human, you can actually utilize AWS without a partner. You should be. But because people don't, people can't, people don't want to, people are unable to due to time, capacity, whatever it may be, or just aptitude. Someone doesn't have the understanding or the brain wiring to learn the things and do them in time. They'd rather pay someone. So Sakila is absolutely right. You're able to do this, and I encourage you, if you can, to try do it on your own, but it can get very overwhelming. And then along the way, you'll see where, it might just be more worthwhile for me to use money rather than my own time, because my time is more valuable. So that is where the differentiation comes. But otherwise, he's actually on point. You can do all of this yourself. So yeah, like I'm saying, the only benefit is really the few programs that we have access to, and the fact that we know the stuff, we work with it all day. But like I'm saying, being brutally honest, you don't really need a partner. We're just here because we know you founders are too busy to do all of this on your own. But if you have the time, go for it. Yeah, that's my answer.
Thank you so much, Siviwe, for that. A wise man once said, work smart, not hard. So for me, I'd always suggest that, instead of putting too much time on something that someone else can do it for you in a quicker way, and also explain it to you and make sure that that person is able to give you the right knowledge for it. I mean, it's a small price to pay for that. So for me, I'd always say work smart. And as a startup, I have a business also. You can't do it all. Like, if you want to grow your business, you cannot do it all. Yes, we want to do it all, be part of everything, but you need to then know your strengths and weaknesses in order for you to grow your business. So thank you so much, Rhea, for that. I am taking questions. Do you have any questions? Just raise your hand.
Yeah, also to add to what Siviwe and Pure have said, like, not only is it about like getting credits or funding, but also networking opportunities. So if you are with Overdrive, then you can also have access to other startups that you can network with and build a relationship with, and that's important for your growth.
Great point, Pile, because again, only for the sake of time, but part of what we do as a partner as well. And earlier in this call, I think Mishak, you heard us, we were talking about globetrotting. The reason why I'm traveling the world so much now is because part of what we do as a partner is go to our customers and take our customers to events, introduce them to stakeholders. We take them to our meetings and we introduce them to the people that we meet. So that's another benefit you get of working not just with a partner, but specifically Silicon Overdrive. Because we've been in the market so long, we know everybody that knows everybody that knows everybody. So the minute you say, we want to incorporate this new solution, but we're struggling to find a partner in the SMME space who's interested in this, in education and whatever. We're like, oh, no. We have all the universities on tap. We just did something for WITS right now. I know the right person to speak to. Let me call them. I have their number. Yeah, here you go. So right on point, Pile. That's exactly why you'd want to work with a partner, but more specifically, a large partner like us. We can get you into the right rooms with the right people, having the right conversations, which is also invaluable. You can't put a price tag on that. Great. Any other questions? Feel free to unmute, guys. I don't know, or if you don't have a question, just a point, maybe you have an observation, something you didn't understand before that you now understand.
I'm guessing our startups really understood what you were rendering here. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Siviwe. Pile, do you have, please can you just, brush up everything that Siviwe was talking about and just, give us an overview?
Yeah, definitely. So I think Siviwe did an amazing job to just walk you through the process. And like I said in the beginning, Pinaco has worked with Siviwe and through the AWS credit program, and we've had success in coming up with a POC that we are currently working to onboard to our website. So it is working, and if you follow the steps that he's talked about, then you are in good hands. And like he said, like there's so many startups that they've worked with who are successful, and there is a lot of funding that you'll have access to as a startup. And this is especially helpful if you are in Swaziland, where we don't necessarily have all the funding that we will need to, start a company and take it to production, to life. So that's amazing. And another part is getting certified in AWS, which Silicon Overdrive can help you with, as long as you work with them. And I think that's very important in, upskilling and leveling up, so you have something other than what you currently have. So I think it's very important. So I would encourage everyone to keep learning a little bit more about this program and see how you can incorporate it into your startups.
Thank you so much, Pile, for that overview. Thank you so much to the startups for joining. I'll definitely share with the startups the presentation that we just had with Siviwe. And if you have questions, please do contact us on our LinkedIn pages. You can send us a DM. We also have a Facebook page. You can send us a message if there are any questions. And I know a lot of startups here, they got a direct email inviting them. You can also just, send out your questions, or if you are interested in joining the program with Silicon Overdrive, you can contact us, or you can just go to LinkedIn and contact Siviwe. But I mean, if you contact us, we can directly contact Siviwe. I know his DMs are probably busy, so if you contact us, we'll directly contact him and just send out to him all the details. Siviwe, your last remarks before we close.
My final remarks, I want to start by saying, don't be, okay, let me start by giving context. So I do this job actually because I love Africans, I love Africa, and I believe in our financial freedom and it coming from us taking over the cloud space. I think it's late now for like brick and mortar businesses, and now our kids need to pivot towards these technological spaces, and we need to take advantage of this. So my message to you startups then with that in mind is, number one, don't be discouraged by what seems like a high barrier for entry with AWS. I know AWS has this reputation of being very expensive, very complicated. You don't want to work with them unless you are rich. I want to break that down because that's a barrier to entry that's being put in your mind to stop you from joining AWS, specifically Black people. That's why AWS is actually is investing $100 billion into South Africa for Black businesses. And I told all of you earlier, Batsamai, Cloud ZA, and I could name others that are benefactors of this program, popular companies that are now very successful thanks to this program. I want to encourage people like Mlondi M Technologies, become an AWS partner. You are probably a Black-owned business. I'm assuming, I mean, from your name, Mlondi, you could join, or if you're not, you could partner with someone who's Black, so you get the BE score, and then tap into that 100 billion, because it's not for South Africans, it's just being put into South Africa. So if you are building and deploying from the Cape Town data center, which everyone, if you're in Africa, you're using the Cape Town region. So if you're using the Cape Town region, you'll qualify for that funding. So there'll be funding all over the place next year. And I highly suggest that if you haven't already thought of a great business idea, or you're still working on your business idea, consider becoming a partner. I know, especially what Sakile said, he asked you, why would anyone want to use AWS? Believe you me, our business is making millions per year. There are many people who want to use AWS through a middleman. So if you have the appetite for it, become a partner, choose which part of the pie you want to cut. There's different parts. I won't get into them now because these are my parting remarks, but do the research, see how easy it is to become a partner, and start making money for yourself for free, doing POCs for people, doing wafers, or linking their account to yours for discounts. Very small, simple things that won't even require technical competency from you. And then over time, you can decide to hire engineers and build a team if it makes you enough money. But I want to advise Africans to start building businesses and to start incorporating partnership, AWS partnership into your business, because it's free money and AWS funds a lot of your activities, even the events and the traveling that I do. AWS is paying for half of it. Imagine if your marketing budget was doubled. Every time you spend $1, AWS will spend $1 with you. That's what AWS does for their partners. So I can't get into all of it now. We don't have the time, and these are my parting remarks. But like I said, this comes from the heart. And as an African to an African, I want to just share an idea with you guys on how you can make easy money if you're willing to put in the work and you are really someone working in the tech space. So with that said, those are my parting remarks. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak to all of you. And I hope to engage with at least some of you in future as a startup, whether it's the Activate program or it's bigger programs and bigger funding. Hopefully, I'm very excited. Even if all I can do for you is give you the 5K, I'm more than happy. If more comes out of that, great. Remember to also share this message with others. That's it from me.
Thank you
Yes,
so
yes.
much.
Sorry. Yes, Akile. Hence I say I want to work with the ones making money or about to make money with a deal on the table. I really think if you're still not there, you shouldn't be on AWS like you're saying. And only when you're ready to, hence I stress, when you're ready to and will consume those credits within the 2 years is when you really want to start looking at the move to AWS. So today is more of an information session for everyone to understand. And if there happens to be people who are ready already, great. But those who are not ready, now you know what to do to be ready. And you also have an extra nugget, an extra cookie that I gave you about becoming a partner so that you can do this yourself. Maybe not you, Gesakile, but I'm sure other people might have appetite because money is money at the end of the day. Sure.
Thank you so much, Siviwe, for that information. And so, guys, I think the onus is on your side now to go and research on how to become a partner. If you are still looking for funding to fund your startup, I think this would be a perfect start for you to actually help other startups start and then get your money and be able to launch your startup. So thank you so much, Siviwe. Thank you so much, Pile, for this amazing webinar. I'll share with all of the startups the presentation. Thank you so much. Have a great afternoon. Thank you, guys. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, thanks. Bye.